Hello everybody, good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. I am Saeed Al-Shahrani, Administration of Saudi Society, Manal Al-Saud, President of Society, and Munir Al-Saud, Treasurer of Society. Now I will leave you with Kat to tell you about herself. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, good afternoon. My name is Kate and I work at the police station just around the corner. I've worked for the police for 14 years. I'm not a police officer, so I'm sorry if that disappoints anyone, but I'm a community safety and crime reduction officer, so I'm a civilian member of staff. I did used to be a special constable, so I volunteered to carry out police duties in my own time, unpaid, but I don't do that anymore. So I've come to talk to you today about staying safe in Cambridge and how to avoid being a victim of crime. So before I start, has anybody lost anything while they've been in Cambridge? Have you had anything stolen, or any bikes or phones? Yeah, so you have?
Yeah, the bicycle.
Your bike, right, okay. So if we look at, we'll talk about bikes in more detail in a minute, but if we look at students in general, about 1 in 3 students is going to be a victim of crime while they're in this country. And they're the normal types of crime that you'll be affected by. So, do you want me to explain what each of those are? Or are you happy that you know what a burglary is? Yeah, theft. Robbery, when someone takes something from you when you're out and about. And violent crime, if somebody starts fighting with you. So they're the most common crimes that you'll be affected by. The reason students are targeted, we have thousands of students every year that come to Cambridge, and if you're anything like my son, who's just gone to uni, he's taken lots of nice things with him. So he's got a nice phone, I think he's got a MacBook, he's probably got an iPad. So anything like that that's really nice and easy to steal and sell on, that's why students are targeted. So if you've got any of those nice things, that would probably be quite nice to steal, your nice little laptop there. So not that I'm singling you out, but that's why students are targeted for crime. So, the most common crime in Cambridge is cycle theft, and I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody, does it? Could you just put your hand in the air if you've got a bike, or if you've had a bike? Okay, so a few of you. So about 20% of all of our crime is cycle theft, so about 7 bikes a day are being stolen. Now what you need to do, and if you haven't already done this, do this when you get home, you need to find the frame number of your bike. So you might have to turn your bike upside down, and underneath where the pedals are, you'll find a number. And that number will only be on your bike, it won't be on anybody else's. Write that number down, because if you phone us up and say, my bike's been stolen, the first thing we're going to ask is what is the frame number. Just like if I phoned up and said my car's been stolen, I'm going to be asked for the registration number so they can try and track it down. Hello? So write down your frame number. You can take one of these blue cards as well at the end. It's got a website called Immobilise on. Has anybody already done Immobilise? Do you know about Immobilise? No? It's a property registration service. So you go to the website, put your name and your address here in Cambridge, and register everything you own free. So your phones, your bikes, your laptops, get everything on here free. If it gets stolen and the police get it back, the first thing we'll do is look on Immobilise to see who it belongs to. So if we know it's yours, you can have it back. So if we get your bike back, did you know the frame number of your bike? No. Do you know the frame number of your new bike?
Yeah.
Good. Fantastic. Okay, so you need to park it somewhere where it's light. You need to make sure it's chained to something like these Sheffield hoops. If you just lean your bike up against the wall, so just stand it here, someone will lift it up and take it away. We actually locked 5 bikes in the city centre 2 years ago, and then we sent a police officer out. He wasn't in uniform, and we asked him to steal those bikes. So he had a nice big pair of bolt proppers, about that big, bright orange. He was going up to bikes, he was cutting the locks, he was taking the bikes away. And we filmed it, and we have lots of pictures of people watching this man stealing bikes in Cambridge, and not one person phoned to tell the police. In fact, there was one man, one of the bikes got taken from, I think it was this area on Market Square. He was actually quite pleased that that bike had been stolen, because it meant he got somewhere he could put his bike. So he was a happy man. But within half an hour, we caught on the city CCTV, we watched his bike being stolen. And that wasn't by the police officer. So maybe if he'd phoned that through, that wouldn't have happened. Now there are some do's and don'ts on bikes. These are the main things people get wrong. So if you've got a one-way sign, and all the traffic is going this way, we don't want to see you on your bike going this way. And I see that all the time. Apart from the fact it's very dangerous because you've got a car and you've got a bike. If a police officer sees you doing that, they're going to fine you £50. So that's quite a lot of money. Unless you've got lots of £50 that you don't mind giving us. This is also an offence, riding on the path. You should have your bike on the road, unless it is a cycle path. So if it tells you bikes can be on there, that's fine. But if it doesn't say bikes can be on the path, which they can't out on East Road, you need to be on the road. I think this is my personal favourite, and that is something I see every day on East Road. You've got your crossing, haven't you? So the lights turn red, the cars stop. What do the cyclists do? Keep going. And down Mill Road as well, we had actually a police officer who was knocked down by someone on their bike that didn't stop at a red light. So you can imagine they got a bit more than just a £50 fine. So you need to stop at red lights on your bike. It's important that you know about this, even if you don't have a bike, because if you're a pedestrian and the lights go red and it's telling you you can cross, it's safe to cross, you need to be thinking, I can see the cars have stopped, but are there any bikes coming that are going to knock me over? So it's important you know about that too. Now, burglary. In the summer, in particular, you will see people leaving their windows open. Who's got their accommodation on the ground floor where you're staying in Cambridge? Put your hand up if you're on the ground floor. Yeah, a few of you? Right. Unfortunately, you're more at risk, okay? Because if this is your room, and you've left the window open and your laptop's just inside there and you're doing your work, and you go and make a cup of coffee, or you go and get some lunch because you're hungry, if you've left your laptop on that table, someone is likely to reach in and take it from you. Not quite so bad in the winter, because hopefully you've got your windows shut, but you need to make sure your doors are locked and that you've got everything registered on here just in case it gets taken. Do you share accommodation? Do you live in halls of residence where other people go in? No? Do you live on your own? Yeah. Do you share with other students? You do? Yeah. So, depends whether you have a key to get in or whether there's like a keypad. Do you have a key? Yeah. Right, good. That's fine. No, sorry, I don't need to say it. I trust you. So that's good. You need to make sure the other students are aware of this and that they take their security seriously as well. What do you think the top 3 items are to be stolen in a burglary?
Laptop.
Small electricals, certainly. So like smartphones, iPads, tablets, sometimes laptops, yeah. What about number 2? What do we think that is?
Wallet, purse.
Money. Money is number 2, yeah. Yes, jewellery. They're the 3 most popular things to be stolen because they're small, they're very easy to get hold of, very quick to sell on. So these are some more do's and don'ts in your accommodation. So we've already mentioned about the doors and windows, talked about immobilise. This used to happen a lot. Someone would leave a note on their door saying, I've gone to college, I'm back at 4 o'clock. So it's now 11 o'clock, and I know exactly how long I've got before someone comes home. Fortunately, technology's moved on, and if you're going to let someone know where you are, you're probably going to text them, aren't you, realistically? So we're not quite so worried about that now. You do need to be careful if you're letting people into a building that you don't know, especially if you're sharing accommodation. You know the other students that live with you, don't you? So that's not a problem. Yeah. If you've got a bike with a basket on the front, do you have a basket on the bike? Okay. If you do, and you put your bag in, you need to hold on to the handle of the bag. Because if you stop at traffic lights, sometimes people will take bags out of bikes. Money and passports need to be somewhere safe where you're staying. So don't leave them on the table for everyone to look at. And I know, I don't know, do we have anyone who goes drinking in Cambridge? Drinkers, no drinkers, no? Okay. Because I know that to get into pubs and clubs, you often need ID to get in, and that's why a lot of people carry their passports with them. So, this lady's having a coffee, and her phone was on the table underneath her magazine. So it was here. He's walked past and he's picked it up. I went to town yesterday to go to one of the other colleges to look at their security, and on the way back I walked past a restaurant, and on that table in the restaurant, in the window, I could see 2 smartphones. Nobody there. They'd probably gone to the toilet or gone to order something. 2 lovely smartphones sitting there that I could have just gone in and taken if I wanted to. Not that I did. Some people would, and that's how easy and quick it is. So you need to look after your property. Now, one of the things that happens in Cambridge, because we are a tourist destination, people will come up to you, put a map in front of you, and they will ask for directions. So how do I get to the Grand Arcade? How do I get to King's College Chapel? And while you're looking at the map, their hand's gone underneath and they've taken your phone.
I think that's also important when you're working in the open access computers on campus as well, or in any public areas or in the library. You just think I'm going to need to do or take a phone call. You know, maybe just don't leave your valuables on the side. I mean, crime rate, particularly in there, is very, very low. But if there is somebody with keen eyes, they will spot these things.
Yeah, and the thing about an open college like this is anybody can walk in through that front door, and they can walk in and they can wander around and they won't necessarily be challenged. Some colleges, everyone has to wear ID, the students, the staff, so if someone's walking around without one, you know you can challenge them because they perhaps shouldn't be there. Not so easy to do here, so absolutely a good point, yeah. So, if you go out particularly in the evenings, these are recommendations for you to stay safe. So you stay with your Friends if you can. You're much, much safer if you're walking with other people than out on your own. Hello. Stay to the well-lit areas. Now you're going to know that there's loads of green spaces in Cambridge. Parker's Piece, haven't we, over there? We've got Jesus Green. There's lots of different spaces that are green and big. And they're fine during the day to walk across, or in the summer you might sit there and have a picnic with your friends. But at night they're not well lit, you can't see who's on there, and most of our robberies and sexual assaults will take place on the green spaces. So it might take you another 5-10 minutes to walk home around the outside, but you've got lighting, you've probably got CCTV, and you are much, much safer. So take the extra time to get home safely. If you need to get cash out, do you have a cash point here? Yeah. So if you need money for a night out with friends, going out for a meal, then take it out here where you're safer. And you can go to a place of safety if you're in trouble, and I'll show you more about those in a bit. These are personal attack alarms. Has anybody got one? No? Okay, so they come in all shapes and sizes. He's very popular. You can get a panda, you can get a football, mice, hearts. This is a standard attack alarm. So the idea is you either have it on your wrist, so it's handy, or you can have this attachment and have it with your keys in your pocket. So I'll set it off so you can see how loud it is. I hope it works then. Yeah, here we go. Ready? Right, the easiest way to get these, because I don't think you stock them here, do you, in the college? No. If you go on Google and just put personal attack alarm, they'll come up. You can choose which one you like the look of, get it sent to home. They're about £5, so they're not expensive, but they are worth having. If this goes off, hello, come in. If this goes off, people are going to look round. Even if they don't rush over to help you, the very least they'll do is pick up their mobile phone and they'll ring the police and tell us what's happening. And then we can get CCTV to watch you while we come and help you. So that's worth getting. Ladies, if you get one of these, please don't put this in the bottom of a very big handbag, because if you need it, no one's going to wait for you while you're rummaging through trying to find your alarm. And I've seen people do that. So did we say we don't have any drinkers in the room? No. Okay. I will just tell you, because I think it's still important that you know this, we have a very robust approach to alcohol-related violence in Cambridge. And that's good news for everybody, because it means you can go out in the evening, perhaps go for a meal, you might want to go and see a film at the cinema, or go and see a show, and you're not going to encounter lots of people all drunk fighting each other, because that wouldn't be very nice for anybody, would it? So all the pubs and clubs are linked up. They have their radios, CCTV has the same radio, and we have a team of officers that go out, certainly on Friday and Saturday nights, which will be looking for troublemakers and moving them out of the city. So we work really, really hard to try and make everybody feel safe in Cambridge. So hopefully you haven't had too many bad experiences if you've been in a centre at night. Has anybody seen anything horrible? Now you're laughing at the back, what have you seen? We've not moved you out of the city, have we? No? Good. We also share data with the hospital. So if people do get into fights, you know, if you end up with a black eye or a cut lip, or you've been fighting, we share that information so we know who the problem people are, and we share that information with colleges as well if they happen to be students. Right, smoking. I don't know if we have any smokers. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up, but just in case we have, these are the laws around smoking. Slightly confusing. You used to be able to buy them from 16, you now have to be 18, but you can smoke from 16, you just have to get somebody else to buy them for you. Unlike alcohol, which can only be bought by people 18 and over for the consumption of people who are 18 and over. It's against the law to buy alcohol for someone under 18. Right, now you may have seen some people living on the streets begging for money. Yeah. Everyone in Cambridge has been offered a place to stay, but some people don't choose to live in a house or a flat because it's not what they want to do, and it might be because they have mental health issues or drug problems or alcohol problems, or they just don't feel safe in the places they've been offered. They'd rather be on the streets, and that is incredibly sad. But our advice to keep you safe is not to give money, and the reason we say that is we've had some people who have given money, and then perhaps on a Monday you give £5, and you come past again on a Wednesday and you give another couple of pounds, and then on Friday perhaps you haven't got any money, and sometimes people will remember you. They know you've given money before, they expect you to give again, and they can become a little bit aggressive. Not everybody, just some people can become aggressive. There are also people who aren't homeless who beg for money. So they get their little stall set out in the day. Some of them have a little dog with them as well. And you give money, and then at the end of the day, they go back home to their cosy flat. That does happen here. Dogs get shared around as well, so you might see the same dog with different people in the city, because if you have a dog, you get more money, because we are a nation of dog lovers, aren't we? We were discussing earlier. So if you've got a dog and you feel sorry for that dog, you're going to give some more money. So the other side to that also is, if we are known as a city of people who throw money around and we're really, really generous, we're going to encourage more homeless people into Cambridge, and it's going to make the problem worse. So we will help people. We've got what we call a street life officer. So that's a police officer who is dedicated to working with people on the streets, to helping them, to support them, to get them housed if we can. So it's not that we don't help, but we're just trying to keep you safe. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? That's good. Sound like they're having a party down there. Can we join them after? Right, if you need to get hold of the police and it is an emergency, so you're seeing that man climbing into the window, or you've witnessed that silly cyclist going the wrong way that's just been hit by that car, you'll be phoning 999. If it isn't an emergency, so the chap who had your bike stolen, he's not listening to me now. Okay, now I'll let you off. So if you had your bike stolen on Saturday, and we are now, what are we, Wednesday? Is it still Wednesday? Then you're going to phone 101, because that's not an emergency. You don't need us rushing down to you with blues and twos at great speed because you lost your bike 3 or 4 days ago. So you'll phone 101. Do you all know where we are? The police station? Yeah, so you've got this lovely brand new shiny fire station, and then you've got the not so nice brand new, not shiny at all police station next door. That's where we are. But they come from next door to use our canteen, funnily enough. So they come and take our food. Right. We have a student blog which we run, which is on the purple card, which I'm going to let you take at the end as well. But I'm going to show you the blog, just to give you an idea of what's on there. And then I'll take questions from you if you've got any questions you want to ask. So, okay, so this is our student blog, and what we have, there's a section here for international students. Op Columbus is what we call our programme that looks after international students, so that's specifically for you. So we have safety advice, information on host families, and safe havens as well. There's also this section, keeping you safe, which has lots of different tabs. So if you were worried about scams, or you were worried about being safe on the internet, you can get lots of advice on there. If we have a problem in Cambridge, or an issue we want to tell you about, we're going to put it on the blog. So it's worth keeping up with that and having a look at it to see what goes on. This is where we went to a freshers event, and they've got buses and lorries with cycles, so you can go on the bus, you can sit on the lorry, and you can see what the view was like for the drivers. We've also got our welcome message to you. Not very nice picture of us at the freshers fair, we'll skim past that. How do you register your bike? Oh, that was a message for some Spanish students who were partying in an area where they shouldn't have been. Information about drinking. Oh, and there's some alarms as well there. So there's lots and lots of information on that blog for you. So have a look at that. If you feel there's anything that's really important for students in Cambridge to know, and you would like something to put on the blog, just get in contact with me, and we can put items on there as well, as long as we feel that it is important for other students to be aware of. So any concerning issues can go on there. Now, when I said about going to a place of safety, they are the safe havens. Now, these are companies that have said, is it going to open?
It's there, just scroll down.
Oh, so that's all right. These are companies that have said they're happy to look after international students, so if they get into difficulty in Cambridge, come to us and we'll help you. Now, some of those places might have closed actually, and probably that needs updating, but realistically, anywhere like the big shopping centres would help you, the door staff at the pubs and clubs would help you. If you went, hotels, they have door staff, don't they? They would help you. Shops, anyone in uniform is going to give you a hand. So realistically, they are the places that are officially registered to help you, but you can call on anybody and I'm sure they will help you out. On the whole, I think Cambridge is a really safe place to be. I've worked here for 8 years, and I think it gets safer because I think we're working better with other people when we're sharing information really well. So we work very closely with the council, with the CCTV, with lots of organisations. So we're kind of all sharing information, and I think that is a huge benefit because the council might know something about somebody that we don't. And if we're sharing that, we've got a fuller picture of what's going on, and it's all about keeping everybody safe. So I think it's thumbs up for Cambridge. Unless anyone's going to tell me differently. Does anybody feel unsafe in Cambridge? No?
That list, just so everybody knows, that list is correct, apart from Vicky Finn's is now referred.
Yes, that's what I thought. Is that the one that's going to become a Tesco's or something? Yeah.
All the others are still like...
Cambridge is very safe compared with other cities.
Good.
Very safe. I was in Nottingham, it was like this.
Right. Well, that's good to
One
hear.
friend there, I mean, one of my friends, he was beaten there by someone, was drunk.
Yeah.
He went to the police, nothing happened. He explained everything to the police. Here, I think it's very safe. You know, stealing bikes, it's not a big issue.
Stealing bikes is the biggest issue.
It's not a big issue.
But if you think
other
like,
things is maybe bigger issue.
yeah, I think if you think that getting a bike stolen is probably the worst thing that's going to happen to you, then I think we can probably live with that, can't we? It's not nice to have anything stolen, but I'd rather have a bike stolen than to have somebody in my family getting hurt. Because to me, safeguarding people and looking after people is more important. Obviously, I don't want anything going, but some people in Cambridge just think, oh, if I live in Cambridge, my bikes are just going to get stolen. That's what happens if you live here. It's kind of like an occupational hazard, if you like. But, and that shouldn't be the case, and we do work hard to try and combat these cycle thieves, but I don't think there's a great deal of punishment at the other end of it. So that's probably why they do it, because they make a bit of money and they don't really get into that much trouble. Yeah.
Statistically, what is Cambridge in the crime ranking in the UK?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know the answer to that without looking it up. But if you go to www.police.uk, you can pull all crime stats for the whole of the UK, and you can draw specific areas. So if you wanted to compare us to, let's say, Nottingham, you could do a comparison and find out. I mean, there are going to be figures that will say how safe we are, but I don't have that to hand.
I think they won 4 or 5 years ago or something from the top 3 in the UK.
I know they have rankings for universities, don't they, where people sit. You can get that information, how safe you are.
How about neighborhoods? Do you have like safe and unsafe neighborhoods here? North, south? Advice for students who are looking for homes?
For accommodation. I suppose the more affluent areas are probably mainly in the south and the west. Probably the most deprived housing areas are on the north. When you're looking at burglaries, the majority of them happen in CB1 and CB4. CB4 is the north, and CB1 is kind of Cherry Hinton, kind of that way. But when you're looking at areas like Trumpington Road and the houses off Trumpington Road, they're very big, they're very expensive, and that's quite an affluent area. And the west, Newnham, is particularly nice. But, you're going to get little bits of crime everywhere, but the main burglary areas are CB1 and CB4.
Those in CB1 is quite a popular student area as well as local people, but when you look how densely, how many people there are in that population, you know, I think you're quite unfortunate, aren't you, if you do get burgled, but we're not a city that has huge rates.
No, and also if you do get burgled, it's very unlikely to be burgled a second time. Because years ago, when I first started in this job, we were having things like televisions taken, computers, quite big things were taken. You'd claim on your house insurance, so you'd get a new version of that television, and Mr. Burglar would come back 6 weeks later and take the brand new version of what he's already had, because he knows you're going to get a new one. But now, because it's the small electricals, it's the money, it's the jewellery, kind of once you've had that, you're not going to come back and get the same thing. So very rarely do I see a repeat victim of burglary. So that's good. I mean, it's horrible to be burgled, don't get me wrong, but if it does happen, it's probably only going to happen once. If you do all the things that we suggested earlier about locking your windows, locking your doors, getting everything registered, you can even put stickers up to say you've got everything marked, registered on Immobilise. That will put people off stealing from you, because if you steal something that's traceable to the address where you live, that's far more risky than taking something that isn't. So I've got a nice long roll of stickers that you can have if you want to put one up in your windows to say you've registered things on Immobilise.
I think in terms of when you're looking at finding places where to live, it's not so much it's not so much kind of like dodgy areas or funny areas, it's looking at your property, you know, and having a look on what does it back on, has it got easy access for other people to come into that place, if you've got a back gate, does your back gate have a lock, things that deter people from coming in.
Yeah.
You know, and then think about your routes either from bus stops or from walking home or cycling. You know, if there's plenty of light, there's plenty of people about and cars are passing, you know, it's going to be potentially a little bit more safe than living somewhere where somebody passes once an hour, it's poorly lit. If people are going to go looking to cause crime or, you know, upset other people, they're going to go to places where they've got a quick escape into the darkness sometimes.
Yeah. If you live next to a passageway, or on the end, or you've got a passageway that runs at the back of your house, then you're more likely to be a victim of crime. So if it's not gated off, if anybody can just walk off the street and go down that passageway and start poking around in your back garden, then you're going to be more at risk. If you've got no lighting in your garden or at the front of your house, you're going to be more at risk. Equally, if you've got really hot, you know, trees or bushes and things at the front of your house, so someone can come up to your door and they're hidden, because no one can see them there, then you're going to be more at risk. But we do have, if I get our other website up, we do have an interactive house which you can look at to help you know if you're being safe or not. See if I can get Google back up. Right, so if we look at, so this is our website if you ever want to have a look at this. We'll get closer. We'll look at burglary. So if you ever want to research any crime, any specific crime, there's loads of information and help on here as well. We go to the interactive pages. So we get interactive crime prevention. So if we do a oh no, I don't want to survey, let's go back. Here we go. So here's the house. So then you can touch on the little sections here and it will give you more advice about sheds and outbuildings, windows, doors, whatever you want advice on. But as you can see here, you know, everything's nice and low and clear. You can see the front of that house easily. They have got lighting. You wouldn't want to be getting straight down the side of the house there, so I'm glad to see they've got a gate. And then they've probably got a higher fencing at the back, look, to keep them safe. They've also got an alarm, which is good. Not everybody has an alarm, but if you're living in a row of house, in a house street where most people have an alarm, you need to have an alarm. Because if you're one of the 2 houses that hasn't, then you're likely to get burned. But have a play around with this. Visit our website, have a play around, look at any more information that you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. I wasn't going to cover online safety unless you specifically want me to talk about online safety. Does anybody have any problems when they're on? Do you use things like Facebook? Yeah? Yeah. And Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all the other things, yeah? Okay. So I don't know what you do with your Facebook profile, but our recommendation is that you go into privacy settings and that you set it to friends only. Has everyone done that? Something? So if you have an open profile on Facebook, obviously anybody can look at that. So they can read what you're writing, they can see all your pictures, they can copy your pictures actually, and send them on to other people in lots of cases. If you apply for a job in the future, or you want to go on to another college, it's quite common practice to look at someone's Facebook page if you can get into it. So if we were going to employ someone at the police station, we would be doing a Google search to see what comes up under your name. We would be looking at Google Images to see if we can find any pictures of you. And if your Facebook's open, we're probably going to look at that. So if you've got an open profile, we can read everything you're writing. And if there's things in there that would lead us to think actually you're probably not going to be a very reliable employee, then you're probably not going to come and work with us. Photos, we do have sexting as it's known. The issue of people sending photos to each other without their clothes on is a bit of an issue kind of for everyone really. I know with adults, there are new laws that have come in to protect you. If you've got a photo of someone who's not got their clothes on and you've decided you're going to post it on there for the world to see, you're probably going to end up in court and possibly in prison as well. Children, and I do a lot of talks in schools on internet safety, and we do have children as young as reception year that have got Facebook profiles. Now, you're supposed to be 13 to have Facebook. Children in reception are 4 and 5 years old. So their parents have set them up a profile. But when you look at it, because they've lied about their age, it might look like they're 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. So you could potentially befriend these people, which you think might be a similar age to you, when in actual fact they're down here height-wise. They're little tots who have just started school. So you need to be very, very careful. People do lie on the internet. Not everything they say is true, not all the pictures they post are correct. So until you actually, if you haven't met that person, you don't really know who they are. So just be a little bit careful. I do a lot of talks to children about not taking photos without their clothes on, not sharing them, not texting them to each other, because anyone under 18 doing that has committed a criminal offence as well. So even if you've got a 17-year-old girl who takes a picture of herself and sends that to her boyfriend, she has broken the law. And if anybody gets involved in that side of things and it comes to our attention, we will go to people's houses, we will take their phones, their laptops, their computers, but not just theirs, everybody else who lives in that house will seize everything. And it can take about 2 months to go through it. So you can imagine when I go to a secondary school and I'm saying to these 13, 14, 15-year-old lads, if you mess about, ask for people to send photos of you without their clothes on, we're going to be taking your mums, your dads, your sisters, your brothers, and your electronic equipment. The look on their faces, they go a bit pale. But that's the reality of it. And it's all about protecting people and making sure you don't get into any difficulties in the future because you've got images that are still working on Google Images that are not very nice. The final thing is, if anybody has any problems online, so you're getting people saying horrible things about you, or material suddenly appears on your profiles that shouldn't be there, or you have any issues at all, ask for help. There is a report abuse button, So if you want to report it directly to the provider, you can. We will help you. I'm sure your tutors will help you. So if you have any problems, don't let it eat away at you and make you become unwell and poorly, because there is help out there. We will help you. We've seen it all before, so you're not going to show us anything we haven't seen before, but we want to help you get everything back where it should be and back on track. If you arrange to meet anybody online who you don't know, please make sure somebody else knows where you're going, when you're expected to be back, and they can perhaps text you or ring you and do what we call a welfare check to make sure that you're okay. Because again, you know, we don't know who we're meeting up with. They could be anybody. You know, we've had men who have arranged to meet up with women. They've got there and they found it's another man. You know, we've had teenage girls who have expected to meet up with a teenage boy, and they find it's some man in his 50s. So all these things happen. We want to protect people, we want to keep you safe, and so you don't get into any kind of difficulties or danger or embarrassment as well. We had some adults that were being blackmailed in Cambridge recently because they had been online with somebody on webcams, and that person had recorded those images and said, right, if you don't pay me £5,000, I'm going to share those images with the people you work with and with your friends and family. So people had been paying money because they've been blackmailed, and only then they always end up having to come to us for help to stop it. So don't fall into any of those traps. Okay? I'm not painting a really nasty picture for you all. Cambridge is a lovely place to be. The internet is a fantastic tool. We wouldn't want to be without the internet, would we? But just don't fall into any of the kind of pitfalls and don't get into trouble. But we will help you if you do. Okay. Right, has anyone got any questions? We've covered quite a lot really, haven't we? Has it been interesting? Have you learned anything? Yeah?
How about more serious murders, those things?
Like murders?
Yeah.
They don't happen very often, thankfully. We have a murder team, a murder investigation team. So if anything like that does happen, we bring in the specialists. These are the people that deal with that all the time. And they cover the whole of Cambridgeshire. But because our police force has collaborated with 2 other police forces, so you've got Hertfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Bedfordshire, a lot of the things we do together, because as you're probably aware, the police's budget is going down and down and down, getting less money, but we still need to provide that service. So some of the things, like the murder investigation team, like traffic, like firearms, they're kind of collaborated units. So an officer who was Cambridge might be asked to go to something in Bedfordshire or Hertfordshire. So we kind of have to share that workload a little bit. But we do have to, they're not going to send me to a murder. No, treading all over the crime scene, messing it all up, they wouldn't be sending me. But we would have specialists who deal with that. We don't see lots of murders in Cambridge. Anything else? No? I would offer you a tour of the police station, but it's not very exciting. The cell blocks are quite good, but we can only show you that when we've got like fairly compliant people in there. The rest of it is mainly offices with people with computers, and it's kind of quite boring really. So I won't drag you all around there to show you. But do you feel fairly safe here? Yeah? Enjoy being here?
Yeah.
Good. You certainly look very happy, so that's a good start. Well, I'll leave you the cycle cards are there. Oh yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is it illegal to have a pepper spray?
To have
A pepper spray?
yes. The things that are illegal to carry for your own protection are guns, knives, pepper spray is illegal, and martial arts equipment. So you cannot carry that routinely to protect yourself. The only people that have something like pepper spray are the police. They have what's called parva, and it's very similar to pepper spray. So if you ever get that in your eyes, it really, really stings. So, but it's classed as a licensed weapon. So they have to keep it locked away when they're not on duty. You know, they can't take it home and let the kids play with it and things like that. So you mustn't carry pepper spray yourself. The things you can have are these alarms, which I showed you, or you can use bag. So if you've got like a heavy rucksack or a handbag, you can use that to protect yourself. And shouting is always good. If you shout, people will look round. So it might not sound quite so exciting, but we don't want to get you in trouble. Any other questions? No? Well, I'd like you to take one of these before you go, which is the blog card, so you can have a look at that. These are for property registration, and these are for the cyclists among you. But definitely Google personal attack alarms, get yourself an alarm as well, they're good. But, if you think of anything afterwards that you want to ask.
We have another question.
Oh, you have another question, yeah?
I've been in so many times with a homeless man in the street. Like, he was shouting and saying bad words to me while I was walking home. So in that situation, what should I do?
You should tell us about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes we do have problems, not just with homeless people, but with people that are saying horrible things to you, or if it's like racist comments or hate crime, that sort of thing. We need to know about that, because those people need to be stopped, because that is an offence. I think if you felt particularly threatened and it concerned you to that level, you would be phoning 999 to tell us. If it's something that happened a few days ago and you're now thinking, should I have told the police or shouldn't I, then it will be 101. But you need to tell us about that. We do sometimes have to go and move groups of people on, because we have street drinkers, so they've had a few drinks, they start saying silly things and shouting at people. We need to deal with that. So I'd phone 999. Don't be worried about phoning 999. The only time you'll get in trouble is if it's something really silly. So if you phone us in 2 and a bit weeks' time on Christmas Day and say, how long do I cook my turkey for? We're not going to be very happy, okay? Because that's not an emergency, and that has happened. So has, can you give me directions to Asda? We have had some really, really silly calls on 999. And although it's funny, if you do that, you're going to get in trouble, okay? But if it's like a genuine thing where you're thinking, should I phone you or not? And is it an emergency or isn't it an emergency? Phone 999, because the call takers are trained to work out whether it's an emergency or not. It's not your job to decide that. If it's worried you to the point where you think, actually I don't like this, then you need to phone in and tell us. So don't be afraid to phone that number if you need to.
I think it's helpful that you call, because it may not have just happened to you, it may have happened to other people and nobody's reported it at all. Where the more people that can report it helps the police build a case against that particular person, you know, and hopefully kind of deals with that person before things, you know, potentially could get a lot worse.
Yeah, and if that person thinks it's acceptable, they're going to keep doing it, aren't they? And it might be that they need help with something. They might need help, you know, intervention with mental health issues, or they might have a drug problem that we can help them with and stop them being quite so nasty. So yeah, tell us. Any more questions for anyone else?
Yeah. About the society. Sometimes we try to do a picnic outside the Cambridge, like in the near to the near to the park, and we have lots of students, and it's far away from far away from the city center.
Okay.
Should tell the police about it? No.
We would only need to know about something if there was going to be hundreds of people attending.
Yeah.
Then it would be handy for us to know. If you've got a gathering, I don't know, whether there's 50 or 100 of you, you're just having a picnic, then we don't need to know about that. No.
Okay.
But obviously, if you're going to be somewhere away from the city centre, make sure you're kind of staying together and that you're leaving together, so you're not leaving people on their own. But only if it was a really large gathering would we need to know. If it was going to affect things like, I don't know, other people walking past, or if it's going to affect the traffic, or if it's going to cause any sort of disruption, then we'd need to know. But there's no problem with doing that at all.
Okay, thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
I read somewhere that in the UK, last 2 weeks, a lot of attacks has been increased against Arab and Muslims during the things that happen in Europe.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything these days here?
In this area?
Yeah.
No. No, I haven't. We have, we do what's called echo checks. And what they are, it's something we do every week, and they're areas in Cambridge where we think potentially for whatever risk they could be a target for somebody. So we send officers out and they will check those areas to make sure they're safe and that everything's as it should be. In view of the recent events, some of the locations that we've chosen to do our echo checks have changed. So we've stepped up, if you like, our checks and our security because of checking certain locations, because of certain people who might be vulnerable. So, but we have not, as far as I am aware, we have not had any information to say that there are any direct threats to anybody in any certain locations in Cambridge. But that's only obviously what I've been told. There might be other people further up who know other things. So this is just what I'm told. And I attend the daily management meetings, so I have an idea of what's going on. I have an idea of what concerns people. We have this meeting every day to see what's happened in the last 24 hours, what calls have come in, what incidents have happened, who feels threatened, have there been any community issues, and we'll sit and think, right, what do we need to tackle, where do we need to put our resources, who do we need to give support to. So that happens every single day. So tomorrow morning when I go to that meeting at 8:30, we will be looking at what's happened in the last 24 hours. So if we've got incidents that have come in, you know, anybody's been threatened or had any comments or received any malicious communications, we're going to be looking and dealing with that. So yeah, we're focusing on other areas. We also have a team in Special Branch who are called counter-terrorist security advisors. So where I might go to someone's home and give them advice about not being burgled, these other people, they give advice about how they can protect an area so it doesn't become vulnerable to terrorism. So they're looking, it's kind of another level up to the work that I deal with. So they will link in nationally with what's considered a threat, who's considered vulnerable, what can we do to make them safer. So we'll do everything we can to keep Cambridge as safe as it can be and to make sure people who could be considered at risk will get extra attention and extra care. Okay. Right, well if that's everything, help yourself to the bits and bobs here. If you think of anything else afterwards, I'm sure you can perhaps come through Emma, yeah? So I'm on email, ask me anything, any questions that you have, and if you need anybody from the station to come back to talk to you about any other topics, then please just let us know and we'll try and accommodate that for you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I can have to do things like that. I need you guys to get the people to come. So much success. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come in some deadlines. It's been quick now.
And I do them.
لا خلاص اللي بعدين